Hey guys, what's up? It's Shelby and welcome back to my channel. So today is another Mystery Monday video. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys a case that is pretty well known. If you are into these kind of mystery things and conspiracy theories and stuff like that, you have probably heard about this case. But I thought I'd cover it just because I think it's interesting. It's actually one of the first true crime, like conspiracy cases I have actually that I first actually watched, so I thought it would be interesting to share with you guys and kind of bring it back because I feel like it hasn't been talked about in a while. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into this video. So today we're going to be talking about Elisa Lam. So if you don't know about this case, it is a pretty interesting case. Elisa Lam was 21 years old. She was a college student from Canada and she was doing like a West Coast tour in America. So she was, in like the LA area at this time. On January 1st, her and all of her classmates checked into the Cecil Hotel. Yeah, if you've heard anything about this hotel, you know that this case is going to get interesting. I find the Cecil Hotel so interesting and intriguing. Like, I would love to make a whole video just about that hotel, but we'll get more into that hotel later. This hotel was located right in downtown LA, and she was actually in a room with a couple other roommates for this trip. Everybody was kind of grouped together. Nobody really had like their own room pretty much. Her roommates actually complained like to their teacher or like whoever was with them at the time that was kind of, leading this group, and had said that Elisa was displaying this odd behavior and like it was kind of freaking them out. So the teacher or leader, whoever was there, actually moved her to her own room. Now this surveillance video that I'm going to show you definitely was like around in social media when it first happened. If you haven't seen this video, it is very weird. But let's go ahead and talk about this odd surveillance video. So in this video, you can see Elisa. She is pressing all the buttons on the elevator and looking in and out of the elevator and like looking down the hallway, and then she steps back in and it looks like she's trying to like hide in like the corner of this like elevator, trying to like hide. And as you can see, the elevator doors are not closing at all. They stay open this whole time. And then Elisa looks out again and looks around, and she finally gets out of the elevator and she's making all these weird hand gestures and stuff like that. It just is a really odd because you can't see anybody else in this video but Elisa. And then she kind of walks away and the elevator doors finally shut. So then on February 19th, the guests at the Cecil Hotel started complaining about the water pressure, that it was like super low and their water tasted kind of funny and it had this weird color to it, like it wasn't clear. So a staff member went up to the roof and looked into the water tower and found Elisa's body. Elisa was naked and all of her clothes were just floating like in the water around her. And the clothes that were found were the same clothes that she was wearing in the surveillance video of her in the elevator. The really odd thing about this is nobody was allowed on the roof. You could not get on the roof unless you had a staff pass, which would allow you to get into this without triggering the alarms, and no alarms had actually been set off between this period of time. I saw that there was like a fire escape that actually like led up to the roof, but to get to it, you had to have climbed out of one of the windows to actually get onto this fire escape, and I don't know if you would have set off any alarms like getting on the roof from this or not. I just know that that was mentioned. The other odd thing is even if you did get on the roof, you would have to get up onto the platform that all these water tanks are on. You'd have to climb a 10-foot ladder, move a 20-pound lid, and if Elisa was doing this by herself, she would have to get into the tank and then close the lid from the inside. And that would be extremely difficult. So let's go ahead and talk about this hotel for a minute so you guys understand how odd it is. The Cecil Hotel is very well known, but not for good reasons. So if you guys know who Elizabeth Short is, also known as the Black Dahlia, she is said to have stayed at this hotel right before she was murdered. And if you know who Richard Ramirez is, he is known as the Night Stalker. Him and his copycat actually stayed at this hotel during his like crime spree, murder, you know what I mean. And this hotel is definitely known for all the suicides that have happened just in this one hotel. One of the suicides, somebody actually jumped out of the window, landed on a pedestrian, and ended up killing them both. So this hotel definitely does not have a good reputation. I'm pretty sure that they changed the name from the Cecil Hotel to something else to try to remarket it, rebrand it. I think Marilyn Monroe actually stayed in this hotel as well before she was found dead, but again, I don't really know if any of those are true, that's just hearsay, but this was a really famous hotel. So that is pretty much all we have on this case. There's really no more evidence. I mean, there was like, you couldn't have found fingerprints or anything like that. I mean, she was in water, so all of the evidence would have been washed away. That is really all the evidence we really have on Elisa Lam. So let's go ahead and get into some theories. Some of them are ridiculous and some of them kind of make sense. So the first one we're going to talk about is drugs and hallucinogenics, I think is how you say it. So if you don't know what hallucinogenics are, it's kind of like mushrooms. Like you take them and you start tripping out and stuff like that. And people say that maybe she took some kind of drug or took, hallucinogenics. And that's why she was acting so odd in this elevator. Maybe she was seeing things because of it and all of that kind of, stuff like that. This could very well be true, but it doesn't explain how she got into the water tower. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you're really tripping, it's gonna be 10 times harder to even get up there, but I don't know. And also, her toxicology report didn't show any signs of drug in her body at all. The next theory is that she was bipolar. I mean, that was something that they found. She was bipolar and she was taking medicine for her bipolar, but she could have either ran out of them or stopped taking them and went on a psychotic break and started, just hallucinating and freaking out and being all paranoid and stuff like that, which would definitely explain the, whole odd surveillance video. And to add on to it, she had a Tumblr blog where she was very open about her bipolar and her depression, so people think that both of these combined, she went up and just committed suicide. But like I said, it would be kind of hard to get yourself in this thing to begin with, but I mean, it could be possible. It's definitely not impossible. This one makes really no sense to me, but it's going to lead us on to our more murder theories. This one is she had posted something about this invisibility cloak that the military was gonna use, like, to, like, you know, sneak up on, you know, all their enemies and stuff like that, and she had posted something about it, and, you know, maybe she knew too much about it and the government actually took her out. I don't really believe this though. I don't really think that she knew so much about this. I feel like nobody, you know, and like I'm sure people would have retweeted it and like reblogged it, and none of those other people have died. So I really don't think that this is a true thing, but I just figured I'd mention it because I know some of you guys are like, the government is like out to get you and like stuff like that, so I thought I would mention it. This is the one that I actually believe the most, that she was murdered by a staff member. Like I said, to get up on the roof, you had to have a staff ID or you would have set off an alarm. Like I said, no alarm was set off between the time that she went missing and the time she was found. And another thing is, like I said, nobody was seen on this footage besides her, and a whole minute was actually missing from the surveillance footage, and nobody else could get to this footage but a staff member. So the staff member could have known where all of the cameras were pointing and knowing where to get away that you wouldn't see him on this, you know, camera. And so people think, you know, that a staff member ended up killing her or something, but there was also no sign of trauma or rape or anything like that in her toxicology report or her autopsy. There was no sign of trauma at all. Alright, the next one we're going to talk about is paranormal activities. So, like I said, the Cecil Hotel is like said to have be this big haunted hotel. People have like been choked by air and all of this stuff, and I know somebody actually died from a strangulation, but there was nothing found on them that, you know, had any like evidence. It looked like they were like strangled by air pretty much, and their perpetrator was never found. And so some people think that she got possessed while she was in this elevator, you know, doing all this weird stuff, and ended up getting possessed into committing suicide. I don't really know if I believe that much, but one theory that I didn't really see but kind of made me think is, like, if you think you're just like going insane because you're seeing all these ghosts and you're feeling all these things but nobody's around, she might have just wanted it to stop, and she felt so like boxed in and stuff. She might have just went up to the roof and accidentally drowned in this thing. Maybe the lid was open and somebody left it open by accident and she tripped and fell in and nobody saw her and ended up closing it when they came back, or something like that. I feel like that could actually be very, very possible. So another theory about kind of this weird paranormal is that there is a Korean elevator game that people like to play in hotels and stuff like that, and I don't really know all the rules and stuff to it, but like you do all this weird stuff in a elevator, and it kind of matched what she was doing in this elevator, and like at the I know in the game, once you, and it's supposed to like bring you to like this new dimension and back and all this weird stuff, and it's said once you come back you're going to be like all like out of the place, and you like are super like just out of it and like kind of hallucinative, I kind of want to say, like you're just like whoa, you know what I mean? And maybe it just snapped and she went up to the roof and fell in, like I said, or something odd like that. Another weird thing that I find is, if you've seen the movie Dark Water, it is pretty much to a T what happened to Elisa Lam, which is going to lead us to our next theory. So in this movie, it's pretty much the same thing. Guests complained about their water being gross and tasting weird and all of this stuff, and they found a body decomposing in their water tower, and the girl, the main character in it, wore pretty much the same clothes as Elisa Lam, which is going to lead us to our next what do I want to say our next theory, which is that she was part of a tuberculosis testing gone wrong, pretty much. There was an outbreak in downtown LA and LA of tuberculosis, and a lot of people think it was like government, you know, kind of this little outbreak, and so they gave everybody, you know, medicine for it to see how well it would treat the tuberculosis. So people think Elisa Lam actually did get this tuberculosis and was given medicine for it. And she I don't know exactly what the drug is that they gave to cure the tuberculosis, but the side effects of it were hallucinations and abnormal behavior, which definitely would explain Elisa Lam. So, but again, there was no drug use found in her toxicology report, which is definitely odd. Now, to go back into this, that this testing that was done was called Lam Elisa. Yeah, I know. So people think that this never even happened, that she never even existed. Like, Elisa Lam wasn't actually a person. It was kind of this stunt pulled off by the government to hide the tuberculosis testing that they were doing. So when you searched up Lam Elisa, the first thing that came up was this mysterious girl that, you know, drowned and, you know, all of this stuff to hide all of the testing that was going on, which I low-key kind of believe that a lot, because I'm sorry, that is not a coincidence that this testing was called Lam Elisa and the girl that went missing in LA during this time was Elisa Lam. I don't think that's a coincidence, and that also goes off to Dark Water. The movie, they kind of threw all of it together, like relating to that movie. So, you know, they had like a whole story plan and stuff like that so that they could, you know, figure out, you know, all that stuff, which I believe the most about this, because there's just no other evidence to any of it, you know what I mean? It just makes zero sense to me. Like, this, I feel like, is the only thing that makes sense in my mind. I feel like they paid somebody to do all this surveillance videos and all of that, and allegedly found this body and stuff like that. I don't know. I think that I believe that the most out of everything. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you guys want to see next down below. Don't forget to follow my social medias. They are all linked down below as well. I post on Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 Central Time, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!